When I was growing up, the first console I ever had was my PlayStation 1, and 90% of what I played on it were all 3 Spyro games and the 3 Crash Bandicoot games as well.
Crash Bandicoot!
While I would later eventually learn the Spyro 2 speedrun, for some reason I just never got into speedrunning the Crash games. Maybe this is because the Crash games didn't have any of the crazy sequence breaks like the Spyro games, but it could also be because I was just too busy speedrunning the superior Crash Bandicoot game instead. But hey, it's never too late to start something new, and I know you guys really enjoyed my previous Steam Refund challenge of the Spyro Trilogy, so let's see if I can do it for Crash as well. How hard could it be? Well, when I first began looking into the Crash and Sane trilogy, completing all 3 games within 2 hours was looking pretty impossible. Since this challenge is based on the Steam playtime counter, this means the challenge is timed in real time rather than how the Speedrun.com leaderboards work with load times removed. If you look at the real time it took for each world record holder for the Insane trilogy, we can see Crash 1 was completed in 43 minutes, 49 seconds, Crash 2 in 43 minutes, 41 seconds, and Crash 3 in 42 minutes, 6 seconds. This all adds up to a total of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 36 seconds, nearly 10 minutes above my goal time. So it would appear that even with the best gameplay anyone has ever achieved in individual game runs, all put together, this challenge just isn't possible. And even if we removed load times out of the equation, this would only leave a little over a minute of leeway to complete this challenge. Considering I've literally never speedrun a Crash Bandicoot game before this challenge was looking almost impossible. The keyword being almost. So let me show you guys how it's done. I hope you all enjoy. So before I show you all how I save money off my Crash Bandicoot playthroughs, let me first show you how you can save even more cash with today's video sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the best personal finance app out there, helping you take control of your finances. How they do this is after signing up, you can link all of your bank accounts and credit cards and get an instant overview of your monthly spending habits and recurring payments. From here, you can cancel all unwanted subscriptions, begin setting up a budget, and they'll even look into your current bills to see if they can get lowered in any way. Upon loading up Rocket Money, I was able to cancel 2 subscriptions I didn't even notice were recurring. Afterwards, I set up a budget based off my income and spending habits, and I'll now get notifications to let me know to cool down Chipotle, which keeps me accountable. Whether you're trying to save up for a big purchase like a car, a house, or a wedding, or just trying to cut down on monthly expenses, or plan towards retirement, Rocket Money can help you with all the above and more. Download Rocket Money today by using my link rocketmoney.com/EZScape and get one step closer to financial freedom. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the speedrun. Upon booting up the game and skipping past the intro loading screens, we're instantly going to start with some shenanigans. If you watched my Spyro Steam Refund challenge, then you know the full trilogy run wasn't possible in that game either. But by setting up glitches in one Spyro game and transferring them to the others made the challenge doable, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. With my mouse, I'm going to rotate it in circles on the right side of the screen where Crash 3 normally pops up at, all while spamming the shift key. If this is executed properly, the shift key will open up the license menu on the first actionable frame, all while still being able to interact with the Crash 3 interface. Normally when this license menu is up, you're not able to interact with anything on screen, but for some reason by opening it in this fashion, you can. The only caveat is that even with a good mash, this only works maybe 25 to 50% of the time, and the only way to perform another attempt is by reloading the game and going through the boot up screens again, or by loading into one of the Crash games and quitting out. For some reason, backing out from the game selection screen and going back in doesn't work, which is just really inconvenient. Anyways, once this trick is pulled off, we'll select new game on Crash 2, and then just before the game loads, move over to Crash 1 and load a new game there as well. What this does is assigns the autosave to the second game selected, in this case Crash 1, but the game still loads the first game selected, which was Crash 2. So Crash 2 is now reading from the Crash 1 autosave. This will make more sense in a moment, but before proceeding, we'll back out of Crash 2, and when returning to the main menu, pull off the license window exploit again, and then press new game on Crash 3, and then continue on Crash 1. So at this point, Crash 2 and 3 are both reading the Crash 1 autosave. Next we'll load into Crash 3. If you're wondering how this trick was even discovered, there's a pretty funny clip from Potty, who accidentally selected Crash 1 before loading into Crash 2, causing him to spawn all the way over by Brio in Crash 1 with 42 out of 26 gems collected.
Uh, 100%. Wait, what the fuck? 42. Is that 42 gems? What the fuck?
This would later be reverse engineered by McCrodi, who routed the trick into runs, and who also discovered it could be more reliably pulled off by using the license window, rather than requiring super quick inputs on the game selection menu. Anyways, after loading into Crash 3, we'll talk to Coco, giving us the ability to switch between either Crash or Coco within the hub area. Next, we'll switch into Coco and slide away from the laptop just before interacting with it, so that Coco is positioned away from the laptop with this menu on screen. The thing is, even after clearing out this menu, an invisible version of the same menu will still persist in the background. In the example I'm showing on screen, you can still hear the menu when I cycle up and down through it. With this menu stored in the background, it means we can access it at any time we like. So, how can we abuse this? Well, under normal conditions where we interact with this menu as Coco and select that we wanted to leave, obviously the game would need to switch us to Crash as Coco is no longer in the party. This means we can force a character change while within the hub level with the menu stored, as long as we were playing as Coco at the time we select yes on this menu. At first, this doesn't seem all that useful, but let me explain why it is using an example. After starting a new game in Crash 3, I'll skip the intro cutscene and load straight into the hub area. Next, I'll speak to Coco to unlock her as a playable character, and then switch into her while waiting for the laptop to open back up. When the menu pops up, I'll press no on it because I want to stay as Coco here, but even if I press no, the menu is still stored. I'll just have to be careful because the camera is locked in place, and if I press up and X, it will press yes on the invisible menu. Next, I'll jump on the platform leading to the 6th warp room. As the platform is landing, I'll press up and X to press yes on the invisible menu, switching to Crash while the platform is still moving, and this gives some interesting side effects. After hopping back on the platform as Crash and returning to the hub, if I switch to Coco for some reason, she now has the ability to walk through walls. No, really, I have no idea why this works. The only problem is she loses her ability to jump, so I can't just walk through the force field, since it still has priority, and walking through walls causes her to fall out of bounds. So instead at this point, I'm going to clip slightly into the wall with her. The ability to swap characters is broken at this point through normal means, but of course I could just use that invisible menu again to remove Coco from the party to switch to Crash. Again, no idea why this works, but Crash doesn't have the ability to walk through walls, and he can jump, so we can use him to walk around the bridge. Then I can either bring up the save window, or press back and jump with Crash to select no in the menu, bringing Coco back into the party. Then switch to Coco, and finally clip through the invisible wall, and just like that, we have successfully clipped into the 5th warp room with full access to all of the levels. This skip is absolutely insane, and it took me a while to figure out how all the moving parts worked. But believe it or not, this was actually the easy version of the trick, and there's another variation that can be done that's even quicker, which is what I do in my run. So what I do is I talk to Coco, switch into her while waiting for the laptop to open, slide away from it and store the menu, press up and yes on the first menu to switch back to Crash, and then press down, X, and then R2 to switch back to Coco while the game is still switching from Coco to Crash. What this does is the game skips a transition back into Coco, and we just remain playing as Crash. But if we look at the icon in the bottom right of the screen, we can see the game at least thinks we're Coco. Really all this does is save time skipping a whole animation, but this is a speedrun. Once on the platform, instead of switching from Coco to Crash after entering the 6th warp room, we'll instead do it as soon as the platform begins to rise, and then quickly head over to the gate. I guess at this point the game still thinks Crash is Coco or something, so now instead he has the ability to clip through the wall. Meanwhile, the platform to the 6th warp room is still rising, and once it hits the top, Crash will load into that room regardless if he's on it or not. To avoid this, all we need to do is open the save menu, and for some reason that prevents the transition. While in the save menu, I'll also press down and X to press no on the invisible menu, allowing us to switch back into Coco. Even though we don't get warped to the 6th warp room, the screen still turns black, so the rest of the section has to be performed blind. But it's the same process as before. Swap characters, run around the gate, swap back, and then move straight up, up right, and finally up left to head into the level bug light. In Crash 2 and 3, there exists a powerful movement tech called hop sliding, which you can see the speedrunner CasuallyClutching perform in the background. How it works is Crash is able to spin out of the slides. These are called slide spins, and during a slide spin you can also jump. If you're performing a slide spin, and jump and land before the spin completes, a massive amount of speed is added onto Crash, and if you continue to perfectly chain additional slide spins together, you can maintain the speed boost indefinitely. The only problem is this speed tech is much more difficult than I could have imagined, and I was really struggling learning it as only a beginner to Crash Bandicoot speedrunning. And as this was literally the only level it would be useful in, I decided to shelf learning the technique unless I decided to learn full game runs, as to perfect something like this for me would literally take weeks of dedicated practice. Major props to all the top level speedrunners that are able to reliably perform this. So even though I wasn't able to perform any hop slides, there still is some speed tech I can do in this level. For starters, slide spinning is the fastest movement tech other than hop sliding. so I want to do this as much as possible. Also, anytime I slide after landing a jump, I can press the other button bound to slide to perform a double slide to save a bit of time here and there. There are a handful of masks located throughout this level, and I can use them for a couple damage boosts to skip door cycles. By taking damage from certain enemies causes doors to open up, and other than that, the level is pretty straightforward. Just get to the end as quickly as possible. After completing Bug Light, the game updates the autosave now that we've completed the 29th level. Since Bug Light is the 25th level, plus the additional 4 boss battles we normally have to complete to get here. Since all 3 games are reading from the same autosave, when we back out and press continue on Crash 1, the game thinks we've completed level 29 in that game too, which is Castle Machinery, and we're now onto the Brio boss fight. For this boss fight, Brio throws out green vials of liquid, which turn into green blobs, and Crash has to jump on their heads to deal damage back to him. Following each green phase, there will also be a purple phase where he throws projectiles, where Crash simply has to avoid the vials. I want to position Crash close to Brio following the last vial throw, because if I can force him to attack Crash, he'll skip the animation where he mixes vials, saving a bit of time. I'll really need to be careful during the final green phase, as although I want to stomp in the green heads as quickly as possible, Brio's throws can be pretty unpredictable, and he can even lob the vials high in the air, losing a bit of time. Anyways, following his purple phase, I'll be on standby watching Brio mix his vials, and after he does his third mix, he'll no longer attack Crash, and we can approach him. I'll position Crash's feet close to his, and then once the top of his head touches a metal railing behind him, I can jump with Crash, and he'll land right on top of his head after transforming. Assuming this is pulled off correctly, I can simply hold forward, and Crash will automatically keep hitting his head until he's defeated. Following this fight, we'll need to turn off the autosave, as now the level counter is up to level 30 for all 3 games, and we don't need to go any further than that. But we do still need to finish up Crash 1. In the next level, the lab, I actually did learn the optimal strategies for this level, which was a whole lot easier than learning optimal Crash 3 ILs. You know why? Because Crash 1 is so bare bones, it's a lot easier to optimize. The main goal when running through this level is jumping as much as possible, since Crash moves faster when jumping, and we can also hit enemies through walls into boxes, destroying them preemptively. This whole level is on a set cycle for getting past these electric gates quickly. The sketchiest part of the level would probably be this part right here, where Crash needs to jump over a little bit of the electric beams, land in front of the scientist, and then quickly maneuver around him to avoid death, all while staying on cycle for the rest of the level. Throughout the level, I would also make sure to collect as many boxes as possible so they wouldn't get counted during the ending level sequence, but just being on cycle in general was much more of a priority. Following this, we have the hardest level in the entire game, the Great Hall. Damn, that was a close one. Now we're finally on to the final boss rush of the speedrun versus Neo Cortex. In Crash 1, there's not much we can do to speed things up, other than hitting the green balls as quickly as they appear, and maybe move a little closer to the background when hitting them, so long as we don't make Crash fall off the blimp. I actually do find this boss fight a bit tricky, as sometimes when jumping, it's so easy for Crash's feet to touch a ball, and then you're just dead. So I always try to have his back turned before jumping, which makes it a bit easier. For the final phase, you'll shoot out a bunch of rapid fire shots, we'll shoot 2 green balls back, and then the final phase, a single cheeky green ball. Following this, we can go ahead and load into Crash 2, and since the level counter is still at level 30 from earlier, we'll load outside of Neo Cortex's level, with the load zone still active, even though we haven't collected a single crystal. This has to be one of the lamest final boss fights of all time, but there is a weird little strat we can do that was only discovered somewhat recently. By holding down the spacebar during the cutscene, Crash can move forward early, getting an instant hit on Cortex. Then we'll just need to fly in as straight lines as possible, and land the remaining 2 hits to finish the fight. Now that Crash 2 is completed, there's only one more game to go, Crash 3. We'll load into the game, and just like in Crash 2, we'll get kicked outside of the Cortex boss battle, leaving the load zone still active for us to run into and start the fight. During this fight, the masks will be having a showdown against each other, while Crash fights Cortex. The best way to handle this is to avoid the masks, and then hang out in the top left corner of the room until Cortex throws out the last mine, and then we can throw him into the pit. We'll just have to keep track of the mask's location at all times, and avoid Cortex's shots in the meantime. After we push him in the pit for the 3rd time, the fight is over, concluding this Team Refund challenge. Pretty scuffed way of achieving it, but come on guys, it's 2024. I think we're beyond getting upset about glitches in speedruns. But I'm sure the comments section won't disappoint me. Last Steam Refund video, a lot of you were really upset about me abusing the Steam Refund system for my challenge, so in today's video, I decided to just do some reset attempts to pull it off instead. So hopefully enough of you complain about me not really doing the challenge to justify doing it again, and then we can be in a never-ending cycle of refunding games one video, and then in the next video pretending to refund it. All jokes aside, I do hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, as it's the best way to show support. Special thanks to CasuallyClutching and McCrodi for helping me out with this video. Without support from the speedrunning community, videos like these just wouldn't be possible. That's all for today's video. Subscribe for more speedrunning related content, and as always, I hope you all have a beautiful life.